37,000. In the fog of war, a new number has surfaced. It's not a count of soldiers or weapons. It's a list of targets, allegedly chosen by a machine. According to a bombshell investigation, an artificial intelligence system nicknamed Lavender identified 37,000 people in Gaza for potential assassination. This isn't a movie plot. It's the deeply sourced story of how an algorithm is reportedly making life or death decisions right now. So, let's break down what we know about this system, and what it means for all of us when the machine is tasked with pointing to the next target. This story comes from a groundbreaking investigation by the Israeli-Palestinian outlet Plus 972 magazine and its Hebrew-language partner, Local Call. Their reporting is built on the testimony of 6 Israeli intelligence officers who say they worked directly with this system. They unveiled a secret AI program that they claim has completely rewritten the rules of engagement. The system is called Lavender. While the report doesn't explicitly name its developer, it was created within the Israeli military, likely by its Elite Signals Intelligence Division, Unit 8200, an equivalent to the NSA in the United States. For years, military targeting was a slow, deliberate process. Human analysts would spend weeks or even months building a case before a person was designated a legitimate military target. In past conflicts, Israel might produce a list of 50 such targets in an entire year. Lavender, it seems, was designed to eliminate what one commander called a human bottleneck. It automated the process, sifting through mountains of data to create not just a few targets, but tens of thousands. According to the sources in the investigation, in the early stages of the war in Gaza, Lavender generated a list of 37,000 Palestinian men flagged as suspected low-ranking militants for Hamas or Palestinian Islamic Jihad. The Israeli military has officially denied the existence of such a kill list. These weren't high-level commanders. This was an AI reportedly built to mass-produce a kill list of lower-ranking individuals who might never have been targeted in previous wars. The sources describe the army's reliance on Lavender as so absolute that they essentially treated its outputs as if it were a human decision. As some in the report called it, the age of the mass assassination factory had arrived. So, how does a machine decide who's a threat? Think of it like an AI that's been shown millions of cat photos to learn what a cat looks like. Lavender was reportedly trained in a similar way, but instead of cats, it was fed the data profiles of known Hamas and PIJ operatives to learn their characteristics. These characteristics weren't necessarily about holding a gun. Lavender scours huge amounts of surveillance data collected on most of the 2.3 million residents of the Gaza Strip, looking for behavioral traits. These could include being in a WhatsApp group with a known militant, changing cell phones frequently, or moving between different addresses. Based on these digital footprints, the system gives almost every person in Gaza a rating from 1 to 100, indicating the probability that they are a militant. If someone's score crosses a certain line, they are automatically marked for a potential strike. But here's a huge catch. Sources who worked with the system told the investigators they ran their own checks and estimated it had about a 10% error rate. It wasn't a formal, published metric, but an internal estimate. Still, if you apply a 10% error rate to a list of 37,000 people, that's up to 3,700 individuals who could be misidentified civilians. Critics also raised concerns that the AI might have learned to associate non-combatant profiles, like civil police, with militants, blurring the lines of who it was taught to target. Despite these apparent risks, the system was approved for broad use. And it didn't stop there. According to the report, another automated system, nicknamed Where's Daddy, was used to track the thousands on Lavender's list and signal when they entered their family home. One intelligence officer told the reporters bluntly, "It's much easier to bomb a family's home." The system is built to look for them in these situations. This points to a horrifying strategic choice. The system wasn't just designed to find suspected militants, but to find them at home, with their families. Add to that, sources reported that the army established a pre-authorized level of collateral damage. For every junior militant identified by Lavender, it was permissible to kill up to 15 or 20 civilians. This wasn't a case-by-case assessment. It was a pre-approved quota of civilian deaths, attached to a target generated by an AI with a known, estimated error rate. With a system this powerful and an error rate this concerning, you'd expect intense human oversight. But the investigation revealed something else entirely. According to the sources, the human check for a target generated by Lavender was reduced to a formality, one that they said lasted, on average, about 20 seconds. An operator would see the target on a screen, confirm it was a man, since Hamas and PIJ's military wings don't have female members, and authorize the strike. There was reportedly little to no requirement to independently verify the AI's recommendation. One source called it a rubber stamp. This is a classic example of what psychologists call automation bias, our tendency to overtrust a machine, assuming it's more objective than it is. As operators saw the system getting it right most of the time, their own critical judgment faded, and the AI's decision became the final word. This completely changes the game for accountability. It's a concern echoed by leaders like UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, who has repeatedly warned against autonomous weapons, stating that no part of life and death decisions which impact entire families should be delegated to the cold calculation of algorithms. When a person spends 20 seconds approving an AI's kill order, who's responsible? The operator, the commander, the programmer, or does accountability just vanish into the code? So what happens when you combine a massive list of potential targets, a permissive policy on civilian casualties, and a 20-second approval process? You get a bombing campaign of shocking intensity. The efficiency of Lavender allowed the Israeli military to generate targets at an incredible speed. In the first 27 days of the war alone, the military's targeting directorate said it had identified over 12,000 targets. This industrial-scale target generation fueled an industrial-scale bombing campaign. Intelligence sources testified that the army's policy was often to attack the targets generated by Lavender in their homes, sometimes using unguided, dumb bombs that destroy an entire building. The results have been catastrophic. Within 6 months of the war, UN and other international estimates suggested that 60 to 70% of all homes in Gaza had been destroyed or damaged. The death toll reflects this strategy. According to the Gaza Health Ministry, whose numbers are widely cited by the UN, over 33,000 Palestinians were killed in that same 6-month period. And while the numbers have fluctuated, the UN verified that, particularly in the war's early phases, nearly 70% of those killed were women and children, people who could not have been the intended junior militant targets. This is the grim math of algorithmic warfare. The 10% estimated error rate wasn't a statistical curiosity. It represented thousands of potentially innocent people placed on a kill list. The collateral damage quota wasn't a theory. It was a price paid by thousands of families. The story of Lavender isn't just about one conflict. It's a preview of the future of war. This isn't happening in a vacuum. AI-enabled weapon systems are being deployed on active battlefields, sparking a fierce debate over whether they qualify as fully lethal autonomous weapon systems, or laws. In Ukraine, both sides use AI to improve drone targeting. The Pentagon is openly developing its own AI-driven targeting tools. The machine-driven battlefield is already here. This raises questions we are not ready to answer. First, accountability. These systems create a black box problem, where the AI's reasoning can be so complex that even its makers don't fully understand it. You can't put an algorithm on trial for a war crime. Second, these tools risk lowering the threshold for war. When conflict can be automated and outsourced to machines, it can feel less costly and less risky, making the decision to start a war dangerously easier. And finally, there's the problem of digital dehumanization. When people are reduced to data points and suspicion scores, it becomes easier to make lethal decisions. An intelligence officer who used Lavender told the reporters, the machine did it coldly, and that made it easier. That emotional distance might be the algorithm's most dangerous feature of all. The ethical questions here are massive, and the debate can't be left to military commanders and software engineers. Where should society draw the line on machine autonomy in war? What does meaningful human control actually look like? Is a 20-second check enough? Let us know what you think in the comments. It's a conversation we have to have, because the precedents being set today will define the wars of tomorrow. We are standing at a crossroads. On one side is the promise of technological efficiency, the idea that an algorithm can fight a cleaner, faster war. On the other is the immense moral weight of human life and the responsibility that comes with taking it. The story of Lavender shows us that the age of algorithmic warfare is here. The machine has been taught how to find a target in a sea of data. It has learned to kill with incredible efficiency. But we, as a global society, still haven't answered a much harder question: can a machine ever be taught the value of a human life? And if it can't, what have we just unleashed? Conclusion.
Don't forget to subscribe to our channel.